They fenced off my own driveway at 6 in the morning, and I still remember the sound of the padlock clicking shut. My name is Jake, and 3 days ago the Ridgeline Meadows HOA declared my ranch access disputed common land. I stood there in my boots, coffee in hand, staring at a chain-link fence that hadn't existed the night before. By the end of the story, that fence would be the reason Diane Holloway lost everything she'd built. 6 months earlier, I'd bought 40 acres at the edge of the subdivision, drawn by the promise of quiet mornings and open sky. Diane Holloway ran the HOA board like a queen running a tiny, resentful kingdom, and everyone knew better than to cross her. At first, the violations were small. My mailbox was the wrong shade of black. My gate exceeded regulation height. Each fine came with a smug little note, printed on HOA letterhead, signed with Diane's looping, self-important signature. I paid the first few, thinking it was easier than fighting a woman who clearly loved the sound of her own authority. Then the real trouble started. A letter claiming my ranch driveway crossed a community easement nobody had ever mentioned before. I dug through my closing documents that night and found no such easement listed anywhere on my deed. Didn't stop them. A week later, a lien notice arrived, threatening foreclosure if I didn't cooperate with the board. I called the county recorder's office, heart pounding, and a board clerk called me back with cheerful indifference. "There's no easement filed on that parcel," she said. "Whoever told you that was either lying or very confused." That was twist number 1. Diane hadn't found some loophole. She'd simply invented one and hoped I wouldn't check. Furious but careful, I didn't confront her yet. Instead, I started recording every meeting, every letter, every phone call. My neighbor Pete, an old rancher with a laugh like gravel, told me over the fence, "Karen's done this before, son." That night I couldn't sleep, so I pulled old HOA meeting minutes from the community archive website, just digging blindly. Buried in a footnote from 4 years back, Diane had proposed rezoning unclaimed access strips for future development opportunities. Suddenly the fence wasn't about rules at all. It was about land she wanted for something else entirely. I drove out to the county planning office and asked, casually, if anyone had filed development interest near Ridgeline Meadows. The clerk hesitated, then slid a folder across the counter. A pending proposal for luxury lots, filed under an LLC. The LLC's registered agent was Diane's husband, Gary Holloway, a man I'd only ever seen mowing their lawn. That was twist number 2. This wasn't a control-freak board president. It was a woman building her own real estate empire. She needed my access road to connect her proposed development to the highway, and my ranch was standing in the way. Every fine, every lien threat, every fake easement had one purpose: force me to sell cheap, quietly, before anyone noticed. I almost laughed. The woman who scolded me over mailbox paint was secretly running a land grab scheme worth millions. But laughing wouldn't stop the foreclosure clock ticking on my delinquent HOA dues. So I called a real estate attorney. Attorney Renata Cole read my file for exactly 4 minutes before she looked up and said, "This is a gift. An HOA can't lien a property over an easement that doesn't legally exist. That's fraud, not enforcement," she said. We filed a formal complaint with the state HOA Oversight Board and, quietly, a fraud report with the county attorney. Meanwhile, I did something Diane never expected. I bought the actual legal access rights to the strip of land she wanted. A tiny unclaimed parcel, technically unowned since 1987, sat right between my ranch and her precious development site. For $600 in back taxes, I owned the one sliver of dirt her entire multimillion-dollar plan depended on. Diane found out at the next board meeting, when I stood up and calmly announced I now controlled that access. Her face went the color of old drywall. She stammered something about community interest before her own board cut her off. One board member, a quiet accountant named Marcus, finally admitted he'd suspected the HOA's finances didn't add up 4 months. That was twist number 3. Diane hadn't just faked an easement. She'd been skimming HOA reserve funds to pay legal fees hiding it. The state auditor's report landed like a thunderclap. $40,000 misappropriated, falsified minutes, a fabricated easement on record. Diane was removed from the board within the week, Her husband's LLC quietly dissolved before the county could seize its assets. The county attorney filed charges, fraud and embezzlement, and Diane's smug little letterhead became evidence in a courtroom. Pete brought over a six-pack the night the news broke, grinning. Guess the Karen finally met a fence she couldn't build. I kept my access rights, my ranch, and a very satisfying framed copy of Diane's own fraudulent easement letter. Every morning now, I drink my coffee by that open gate, and nobody's ever tried to fence me in again.